Good evening, students. Welcome back. In last class, we have discussed about the structures topic. Okay. So within that, I discussed about the structures definition. What is the purpose of structure? Where we are implementing the structure. Okay. So once again, I am revising that topics, whatever we have discussed in the last session. Okay. So structure is a user-defined data type. It will allow to store the various type of data elements, and also it allows to store the data in the form of records. Okay. So how to declare the structures, how to implement the structures in C programming, how to declare the structure first by using the struct keyword. Okay, by using the struct keyword, we are declaring the structure. Within that structure, we are declaring the structure members. And after that, we need to initialize the value for those structure members. Okay, we have to declare the structure variable. By using that variable, we are initializing the values within the main function, and then we are displaying the values of the structure members. Okay, so this is the mechanism how we are implementing the structures in generally in C programming. Okay, so in today's session, I am explaining about the nested structures. And one more topic, array of structures. Okay, so these topics I am discussing now. So first I am explaining about nested structure. Okay, so what is nested structure? A structure within and another structure. Okay, nested structure means what? A structure within and another structure is called a nested structure. Okay, so in general in C programming, we already implement this nested mechanism in conditional statements, decision-making statements like nested if, and looping statement, nested for loops. Okay, so in last units, we already discussed this nested mechanism. So here also in structures also, we can use nested structures. Okay, so how to declare the nested structure, how to implement the nested structure, and how to execute this nested structure. We will take one example, and we'll go to programming part. Okay, first I will discuss the example. Okay, I'm taking one example here. So I'm taking one structure, first student. Okay, so within the student structure, here I am declaring some structure variables, ID of the student and name of the student. Okay, this is one structure. Now I want to store one more structure within this student. Okay, so generally what is the keyword we are using here? Struct. Okay, struct is a reserved keyword which we are using to declare the structure. Okay, so struct date of birth. I want to store the date of birth of the students in one more structure. Okay, now the structure members I am declaring integer date, integer month, and int year. Okay, so these are the structure members. Right. Now, first structure is what? Student. Second structure is what? Date of birth. So, to initialize the value of this first structure, we need to create structure variable. Okay, so one point you should remember here. Within the structure, these are the structure members. Okay, so when we are initializing the values, okay, we have to initialize the values, no? So then we are creating the structure variable. Okay, so for this structure, the first structure, wherever we are writing the nested structure, this is called the first structure. This is the nested structure. Okay, structure within and another structure. So here we are declaring the structure variable for student. Okay, by using the struct keyword, we are giving the tag name student. Okay, so here I am declaring the variable, structure variable for the student to initialize the value for this student structure. After that, we are closing the structure. Okay, so to initialize the values for student structure, we are declaring the variable in the structure date of birth. Okay, so here main function, how we are writing? Void main. Okay, open brace. So here we need to initialize the value. Okay, for student structure members and also as well as date of birth structure members. Okay, so for student structure members, how we are initializing value? So student structure variable is what? S. Okay, so first we need to initialize we need to declare the variable for date of birth also. Okay, so because in date of birth structure also we have some structure variables. For these variables also we need to initialize the value. For that reason, I am creating the structure variable for the date of birth. Okay, now initialization. Okay, how we are initializing the value? By using the structure variable. Okay, now first I am initializing the value for the student structure. Okay, s dot. Okay, so s variable in declared within the date of birth structure. So that what is the variable of date of birth here? D. So s dot d dot id equal to d dot id equal to 101. Okay, observe carefully here. Generally, if this is separate, this is separate. But here the student structure, within the student structure, we are creating one more structure. Okay, so when we are implementing this nested structures, for this structure, within this structure, we are creating the variable to access, to initialize the value for first structure. Understood? So that the structure variables of student ID and name. To initialize the value for ID and name, we need to write s dot d dot, means s variable where we have declared within the date of birth. What is the date of birth structure variable? D. So that s dot d dot id equal to 101. S dot d dot name equal to some name. Okay, so this is the ID and name of the first structure. Now, what is the second structure here? Date of birth. What is the date of birth structure variable? D. So, date of birth, date, month and year. So, for this structure members, directly we can take a structure variable of date of birth. D dot date equal to 20. D dot month equal to I'm giving. Okay, so D dot year equal to. So this is the implementation of nested structures. Okay, so this is first structure. Within the student structure, one more structure, date of birth I am taking here. Okay, so to initialize the value for this structure members, we need to create the variable. So the variable I am declaring within this nested structure. Okay, so let us go with programming. Sharing screen here. So I'm sharing the screen. 1 second. I'm opening developer C++ here. Now I'm sharing. So taking a new source file. Okay. First, I am writing the header files. std io.h, that is standard input output header file. Include ponyo.h. I am taking string.h also because name I am taking as character, but I am converting it to string so that I need to use the string copy method. That is what I am using this string.h. Now I am creating the first structure and date of birth I am taking. Okay, I am creating the date of birth structure. Okay, so within the structure, I am declaring the structure members int date, and then integer month and int year. Okay, so now I'm closing the structure, first structure. Now I'm creating one more structure, student. Okay, within the student structure, I'm declaring the ID and char, name, character, name, giving the size. Okay, and then what we need to do for this structure, we need to create the structure variable. Okay, so how we are declaring the structure variable? Struct keyword followed by the structure name, tag name, and creating the structure variable. Okay, so now closing the structure. Okay, so now this is the date of birth structure and this one is the student structure. So to initialize the values for these structure members of the date of birth, I am creating the structure variable within the nested structure. Okay, so now main function I am writing. Within the main function, I am creating the structure variable for student. Okay, struct student s, because for these structure members also we need to initialize the value apart from these structure members. Okay, so that I am taking. Now, first s dot. Okay, so first s dot id equal to 101 I am taking, and s dot name. Okay, directly if we take s dot name, okay, the type conversion error it will come. So that I am using string copy method. Within the string copy method, s dot name. Okay, so Anu, some name and semicolon. Okay, so for ID and name, the initialization is over for this student structure. Now I want to initialize the value for the date of birth. Okay, so date of birth structure variable where we have declared within the student structure. So that s dot d dot, okay, s dot d dot date equal to some date. S dot D dot month equal to, okay, S dot D dot year equal to, okay. So now what we have to do? So this is the way we are initializing the value for this structure. Okay, so why we are taking s dot d dot? Because the date of birth structure variable we declared in the student structure. Okay, so student structure variable is what? S dot d dot date, s dot d dot month. Like this, like that we need to initialize the values. Now display part. Okay, student info. Okay, student info slash n printf. I'm taking a presentational purpose, single line slash n, giving end of the statement semicolon. Next printf. Okay, so first id. Okay, id equal to format specification percentile d and then slash n for next line printing. Okay, then name equal to percentile s string and then slash n. After that date of birth. Okay, date of birth. So let me print date of birth in the next line. Okay, id and name here, comma s dot id, comma s dot name. Okay, after that we need to display the date of birth. Okay, so date of birth equal to percentile d delimiter colon. I am taking in between the date, month and year. Okay, so that I am giving here percentile d. Okay, this colon is I am giving in the quotation marks. So it is separating the date, month and year. For that purpose, I am giving there. Okay, now s dot d dot date. Again, in display also should give s dot d dot month, s dot d dot year. Okay, so the end of the statement semicolon, get ch method, close the function, close the get ch function and close the main function. Okay, first we will save the file, save, next dot c. After that compile the program. Once we check the program. Okay, so these are the header files. This is the first structure, date of birth, and within the structure one more structure I am declaring here, student. Okay, so when we are declaring the nested structure, we need to create the structure variable for the first structure. Okay, to access these structure members, to initialize the value for these structure members. Okay, so here the initialization part and this is the display part. Okay, so now we'll compile the program for checking the errors. Okay, extra close brace is there, remove it and compile. No errors, no warnings. Then we'll execute the. Okay, now I am sharing the output screen. So this is the output. Student info ID equal to 101, name Anu and date of birth. Okay, so like this, in this way we can implement the nested structure in C programming. Okay, so next topic is array of structures. Okay, so let us go with the array of structures. Our next topic. Yes. Array of structures. Okay. So here we are storing the one single student details, one employee details. Okay. So now I want to store n number of multiple number of records. Okay, into one single structure. Okay. So what we need to do? We need to implement the arrays. Okay. So within the arrays, uh, we need to write the looping statements. Okay. As usually, multiple elements, we need to enter multiple elements, we need to display multiple elements, we need to store multiple records. So arrays we are using to pass the elements into the array. Okay. So iterate that looping statement of by iterating the looping statement, we can pass the number of elements, we can pass the number of records, we can pass the number of objects into that array. So that here I'm taking one example. Okay, employee. Within employee, I want to store employee ID and employee name. Okay, salary of the employee. Salary of the employee. Right? So one single employee structure. This is the structure of employee. Within the employee structure, I am taking the employee ID and name of the employee, salary of the employee. Okay. So now I want to store, suppose I want to store three members of employee records. Okay. So three members of employee records. So first one I'm taking here, first employee 1 and then employee 2. This is the employee 1. Okay, I want to store three number of employee details. Okay, by using the array. Employee 2 and next employee 3. Employee 3. Okay, so employee 1, employee 2, employee 3. For each and every employee, commonly what we are having, employee ID, name of the employee and salary of the employee. Okay. So when we are implementing arrays of structures, okay. So here what we need to do, so employee 1, when we are declaring the variables, okay, structure variables, E1, comma, E2, comma, E3, like that, number of, okay, for suppose I want to store 10 number of employee details, what will do? Up to E10. Okay, like this, we have to create the objects. We have to create the structure variables. Okay, so this is increasing the program size, and as well as we need to create one more structure variable for each and every employee record, means it will take lot of time to implement the programming part also. Okay, for that reason what we are doing, we are putting this, the E. Okay, so E1, instead of writing all these E1, E2, E3, E1 dot E employee ID, E1 dot name, E1 dot salary, E2 dot ID, E2 dot name. So instead of writing all these elements, okay, what we are doing here, we are passing the array. Okay, struct employee. How we are passing the array? Struct the tag name, the structure name, E of how many records we want to store. For suppose I want to store 3 number of records. So we are declaring E of 3. The array size is 3. Okay. So within this array, we need to store the 3 number of employee details. Okay. So now I'm explaining about memory allocation. How it will allocate the memory for 3 employee details. Okay. So in C programming, and generally, structure members, when we are declaring the structure members, okay, so it will allocate the memory when we are creating the structure variable. Okay. So here what will happen? Here we are storing three members of employee details. For each member, it will create the base address. Okay, it will create the base address, right? Base address. Okay, so this is the first. For suppose this is the address 1000. The memory address, the memory block address is 1000. This is 2000. For understanding purpose, I am taking the memory base address is 1000, 2000 and 3000. Okay, so for employee 1, the employee 1, how we are writing here when we are assigning the values, we are writing the for loop, no? For I equal to 0, I less than 3 and I plus plus. Okay. So I equal to 0. So means what? E of 0, the index value. Okay. So E of 0 means the first record. The first record means employee 1 record. Okay. E of I dot employee ID equal to 101. Okay. E of I dot employee name equal to some name. Okay. E dot I dot salary equal to that. So this E of I is what? Index value of the records. Okay. So our array size is what? E of 3. The array size is 3. So always the index value is starting from the 0. So first record value is what here? First record is E of 0. 0. The position of the employee 1 record E of 0. Next, second one, what? E of 1. Next, what? E of 2. Okay. So, the base address, when we are writing E of 1, EMP ID, E of I name, E of I salary, when we are writing like this, the values are storing in the base address. Okay. So, here the base address is what? For employee 1, the base address is 1000. For employee 2, the base address is what? 200. For employee 3, the base address is what? 300. Okay. So like this, the base address is created in the memory for each and every record. Okay. So this is the memory allocation for the records in an array. Okay. So let us take one example. I'm sharing the screen. We'll go with the program. Okay. Now I'm taking a new source file. First header files I'm writing. And then include conio.h console input output. Here int main function I am writing first. Within the main function, we need to create the structure of employee. The size of the structure variable I am creating here. Okay. So the size of the array is what? 3. So 3 employee details I want to store here. Okay. So now initializing the structure members. Employee ID and char name of the employee. The size I am giving here. And salary I am taking as a float salary. Okay. Salary. So it is having the decimal places, so that I am taking salary here. Next, I am taking the looping variable. Iteration. For iterating the thing, we need to store the 3 number of records in one particular structure. So that taking array size is 3 and one looping variable. Okay. So now for here we are writing printf statement. Printf, enter the employee details. Okay. So here what we are writing, I plus 1. Okay. So I plus 1 means what? Initially I value is starting with what? 0. Okay. 0 plus 1, 1. The first record employee 1. Whenever we are giving the values, it will go to the base address. It will take the memory, allocating the memory to this first record, and it will store into the particular index position. Okay. So for here what we'll do, again one more printf statement I am writing. Okay, for loop we need to write first here for I equal to 0 and then I less than 3. Okay, I plus plus. Okay, now scanf. Scanf statement, what we are writing, percentile D. Okay, for percentile S and percentile F. Then here what we'll write first, E of I dot employee ID, E of I dot name, because we are storing multiple records, n number of employee records, so that don't write E dot EMP ID. So the first record position is what? E of 0. Okay, automatically it will take. So that we are writing E of I. Okay, E of I dot employee ID. E of I dot employee ID. Next, E of I dot, okay, E of I dot name, comma, E of I dot salary. Okay, E of I dot salary. Now close the bracket. Okay, so after reading, what we have to do, we need to display the value. Okay, display the value. For display also, we need to write the for loop. Okay, here we need to close for loop. Within this, for display, for in I equal to 0, and then when we are writing the program, we need to follow the indentation. Okay, so it will look good. I less than 3 and I plus plus. Okay, now open and print. Printf for display purpose. Now what will display first? Employee ID equal to percentile D. Okay, slash n, and then name equal to again percentile S. Okay, after that slash n, and then salary equal to percentile F. Okay, so in last what will print is E of I dot E of I dot emp id. Okay. And then comma E of I dot name, comma E of I dot salary. Okay, close. Let's ch, close the main function. Okay, first we need to save the file. Okay, save array of structure. I am giving some file name. Okay, dot c. Okay, so first we'll check the program once again. So stdio header files main function. We are declaring the structure here by declaring the array e of the size I am declaring as 3. So within that I am declaring the structure members, employee ID, name and salary. Okay. So for looping variable. Okay. So integer I am declaring as a looping variable. Now I'm taking employee details. Okay, so I plus 1 means the I value initially automatically the index value starting from the 0. So 0 plus 1, 1. It will take a first record. So for loop I am writing after that scan statement. Okay, e of the I dot e employee id. Okay, generally how we are taking e dot employee id, e dot name we are taking, but here we are passing the values to the e of I means what? The index position of the record, the first position, and then I plus 1. Again it is incrementing. It will take second record. Again it is incrementing up to 3 records it will take. Okay, so this is the display part. For I equal to 0, I less than 3, I plus plus. Generally how we are writing for loop, like that I am writing. So now execute, compile the program. What it is giving some error. Array type has incomplete element type. Okay, so here some error is coming. Struct employee E of 3. The size I am giving as a 3. Okay. Semicolon. Now employee ID. Okay. So like this, you can execute the program. Okay. In lab, the session is ending now. So that um, and I am ending the session because there is sufficient time is not there, so that you can execute this program in lab. Okay, I hope you understand this arrays of structures and nested structures. Okay, thank you, students.